Title: Under the Autumn Sky, A Story of Love, Pain and Destiny in Valverde. Chapter 1: The Unexpected Encounter. It was a gray October day in the small town of Valverde, where the leaves, they slowly fell from the trees, creating a golden and red carpet on the cobblestone streets. Elena walked hurriedly, wearing her light gray coat and a hat that barely covered her dark curls. She had a quiet life, full of routine and few surprises. Her work at the town's library kept her busy, and although she loved books, she often felt that something was missing from her life. That day, like all the others, she went out at midday to take a short break and walk through the nearby park. But when she crossed the corner of the square, she was surprised by an unknown figure who was sitting on a bench, staring fixedly at the horizon. The man, with dark hair and a face marked by sadness, seemed as foreign to the bustle of the town as if he did not belong to this place. Elena observed him for a moment, feeling a curious attraction to his presence, but quickly looked away. She wasn't used to approaching strangers, much less those who they said they were the type of person with a hidden pain. However, an impulse made her take a step towards him. Something in his posture, in the way his empty eyes looked at the sky, told her that he needed company. "Is it all right?" Elena asked in a soft voice, not daring to approach any closer than necessary. The man didn't respond immediately, but upon hearing her voice he seemed to awaken from a trance. He looked up, and his eyes met Elena's. There were 2 seconds of uncomfortable silence, but enough for Elena to feel an inexplicable connection, as if they both shared something that could not be explained with words. "I'm sorry," he finally said, getting up from the bench. "I was lost in thought." Elena looked at him without knowing what to say. He seemed a little disoriented. He looked around, as if searching for something or someone. Something in his gaze was profoundly sad, and that touched something in Elena's heart. "No problem," she replied, smiling shyly. Afterward, without thinking about it, he added, "Are you visiting here?" He observed her for a moment more, as if evaluating whether he should answer. Finally he nodded. "Yes, I came to disconnect. My life in the city became it was unbearable, so I decided to spend a few days here." Elena nodded, intrigued, but said nothing more. The man seemed to be carrying an invisible weight, and she understood it more than she would like admit. The idea of disconnecting, of escaping from daily responsibilities and anxieties, was something she also desired. "Well, if you need any advice on what to do here, I would love help," she said, feeling somewhat more relaxed. The man smiled slightly, as if his gesture were a relief to him. "Thank you, but I like to discover for myself. Although a recommendation of a good coffee, I can take you to one of my favorite places," Elena replied, somewhat surprised by the naturalness with which the conversation arose. The man nodded, and thus began what would be the first of many encounters. Chapter 2: The Growing Connection. Elena couldn't stop thinking about that man. His name was Andrés, and while they walked along the cobblestone streets of Valverde, discovered that he had arrived in the city to leave behind a complicated life. His gaze was deep, but there was also an air of mystery about him that Elena could not ignore. Each afternoon, after her workday at the bookstore, Elena found him in some corner of the town. Sometimes in the park, other times near the lake, always with that melancholic air that surrounded him. With the time, their relationship began to evolve. It was not just a friendship, but something more that arose without them being able to avoid it. The connection between them was palpable. Andrés, despite his hidden pain, began to open. Elena listened patiently, and he, in his vulnerability, felt comfortable with her. They shared stories, anecdotes, and laughter. But there was always something unsaid between them, something that it remained in the air, like an electric current that could not be ignored. One afternoon, after several days of casual encounters, Andrés invited her to walk along a path in the woods. Elena accepted, without thinking twice. The autumn landscape, with its golden leaves and tranquil atmosphere, seemed the perfect setting to talk about what was being born between them. "Have you ever sent?" Do you need to leave everything behind? Andrés asked as they walked among the trees. Elena looked at him, surprised by the intensity of his question. Yes, many times. Sometimes I feel that my life, she is trapped in a cycle, that there is never room for something new. Andrés looked at her intently, as if he could see beyond her words. I also felt that, but now I feel that perhaps I found something worthwhile. Elena felt her heart beat faster. She looked at Andrés, searching for some sign of what he really meant. He, finally, took a step towards her and looked at her, his eyes with an intensity that left her breathless. Elena, I have been running away from my own feelings for a long time, but with you, I feel that maybe it is time to face what is real. I don't want you. Elena, confused but also attracted by his sincerity, didn't know what to say. The air between them became charged with tension. She wished to reciprocate his feelings, but also feared what that would mean for his quiet and simple life. Chapter 3. The Pain of Separation. The relationship between them blossomed quickly, but as in all romantic stories, the shadows, the past and difficult decisions began to get in the way. Andrés, although he had opened up to Elena, still carried a deep pain. He had left behind a tumultuous life, full of loss, as why regrets. His ex-girlfriend, Laura, had left him when he needed her most, and that rejection had left scars on his soul. Elena, for her part, felt an increasingly strong connection on Andrés. But I also knew that he still wasn't ready to love again completely. Every time I tried to get closer to him, Andrés moved away, afraid that his wounds would never heal. Iran. One winter afternoon, while they were at their usual cafe, Andrés looked at Elena with a sad expression. I can't go on like this, Elena, he said, his voice breaking. I have to go. Me. There are things from my past that I can't leave behind, and I feel that I can't offer you what you deserve. Elena was silent, her heart broken by Andrés's words. I understand, she replied, in a soft voice, although tears threatened to fall. Chapter 4. The return of love. Time passed, and life continued in Valverde. Elena continued working in the bookstore, but Andrés never returned. Yes. For months she wondered if she had made the right decision letting him go. Doubt haunted her every time she thought of him. Finally, one spring day, while walking in the park, she saw Andrés sat on the same bench where they met. He looked at her, and something in his eyes had changed. This time, there was no sadness, but hope. Elena, he said, with a voice full of emotion, I have I surrender, that there are things that cannot be left behind. And you are one of those things. Elena, with a racing heart, approached him, speechless, but with the certainty of what was between them. He was stronger than any obstacle. Together, under the clear spring sky, they began a new chapter, one full of love and promises for the future. End.